Chapter 2, Microorganisms, Friends and
My
Foe.
that chapter, no? Okay. The in that chapter, which topics was difficult for you to understand? Like viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoans,
All.
all of them. Okay, okay. Okay, so if that is the case, uh, sometime what we will be doing now, once the revision class would begin, so that would be the first chapter I will take up as part of a revision class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Like you had a doubt in general concepts about a general doubt, or the whole topic was not clear to you?
General doubt.
General doubts now. Okay, okay. All right. So in the previous class, while we were learning about biosphere reserves, we did learn about different zones of the biosphere reserve, right? We did learn about different zones of the biosphere reserve, and just give me a minute. And there we did learn that. Let me change the color of the slide first of all. Yeah. While we were learning about the different zones of the biosphere reserve, so there we get to see that certain zones would different zones have been limited activities. Limited human activities are allowed in different zones, right? Like in the innermost zone of the biosphere reserves, no human activities will be allowed. The tribal peoples that live in the transition zone or the outermost zone, so they have to do cultivation, they have to do some other economical activities in order to support their livelihood, but none of them activities would be allowed in the innermost zone, because innermost zone would be highly habited by the organisms, particularly different animals particularly. Okay, now that's why it is not allowed. Furthermore, certain zones would be in certain zones tourism will be allowed, like tourists can visit there for the purpose of education and research. Okay, na? And that would basically be the different um, forest scientists would be allowed to go there. Okay, no? So that is something which we have done. Talking about the biosphere reserves, different states of India have got different biosphere reserves. Like the Himachal Pradesh has cold desert, that is a biosphere reserve. Uttarakhand has a biosphere reserve by the name of Nanda Devi. Sorry about that. Getting it. Or, for example, Assam has several biosphere reserves. Like it has Manas Biosphere Reserve and Dibru Saikhowa Biosphere Reserve. Okay. Like West Bengal has a very common biosphere reserve by the name of Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. Okay. So there are several biosphere reserves in India. In total, there are around 18 biosphere reserves. Recently, the number might have increased, but the last time when I read on this, they were about there are about 18 biosphere reserves in India. All right, now,
Okay, sir.
so keep that in mind. And all of them have been established in different years. Okay, no? Like Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Spot this in the image. Where is the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve? Can you see it over here? In which state is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve? First of all, make your visible in the class. Let me know that you are there in the class. Look in the South India. In the South India, Nilgiri is there. In which state it is? It is in Karnataka. Okay, now. And Nilgiri is one of the oldest biosphere reserves to have been set up in India. Okay, now. About in the year 1986, it was set up. Okay, now it was established around the year of 1986. Okay, no need to memorize that number, but just telling you. Okay, so there are about 18 biosphere reserves. The total number of biosphere reserves in India is 18. Now, there's one particular biosphere reserve by the name of Panchmarhi Biosphere Reserve. That is Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, which is there in Madhya Pradesh. Where is it? It is in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, now. So it's a biosphere reserve in the Madhya Pradesh. So particularly, it's in the Satpura range of the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, I'm talking about the Satpura range in Madhya Pradesh. So see, in geography, you would have learned about Satpura range of Vindhyas. Have you learned about Satpura and Vindhyas?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Okay. See, Satpura and Vindhya ranges, Rana, these are the valleys. You know what a valley is now? Yes.
Yes.
Asha. Yeah. So Satpura and Vindhyas are valleys, and particularly most of these lies in the uh, kind of valleys of the most specifically we say that they are kind of mountain systems. Okay, now they are kind of mountain systems, and they would be running in this part of the India. Like, let me just draw one image of it. See that. See that this is our India. Okay, a rough diagram of India. So in this part of India, there are two mountain ranges. There are two mountain ranges. One of them is the Sat Vindhyas. Okay, now this one is the Vindhyas. Another one is the Satpuras. Okay, so this Pachmadi Biosphere Reserve, which is in the state of Madhya Pradesh, okay, which is in the state of Madhya Pradesh, it is lying in the Satpura range. Where does it lie?
Satpura range.
Satpura range. Satpura range, what is it? It is basically a range of mountains. Satpura is a range of mountains. Okay, now which will be running in the east-west direction. This is the north of India, north, south, east, and west. It's not in the north-south direction, but running in the east-west direction, like this. Okay, so it is there. And between the Vindhya and Satpura, there's a very famous river that runs between Vindhya and Satpura by the name of Narmada. Have you heard of this Narmada river before?
Yes, sir.
Good. So Narmada flows between these two mountain ranges. Okay. So why I have discussed about this Satpura range? Because I basically wanted to tell you about the location of this biosphere reserve. This Panchmari Biosphere Reserve is in the state of Madhya Pradesh, and it lies in the Satpura range. Right? So far it is clear. Now this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve is special because of its unique biodiversity. It is having a very rich biodiversity. Consists of different kinds of flora, different kinds of fauna. The topography is very special. The geography of this region is very special. It is a home to various endemic species which are particularly found in this region only. Okay, now so thereby it is important. Now, furthermore, this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, it is so big that it contains a national park and two wildlife sanctuaries also. This is so big that it contains one national park also. Can you spot a national park in this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve? Look at the image. Let me zoom it out. Right below Neem Ghan, it's written Satpura National Park. Okay, now?
Okay, sir.
Satpura National Park. Okay. There are two wildlife sanctuaries also. One by the name of Bori and another by the name of Panchmarhi. Okay. So we have Bori. Where is Bori over here? This is Bori. Okay. That is a wildlife sanctuary. Later on, we'll be learning about wildlife sanctuary. Okay, now there's one another sanctuary by the name of Panchmarhi. Panchmarhi. It is Panchmarhi, by the way, not Punch. Pach. Okay, now.
Okay, sir.
So don't get confused in the spelling. Like the biosphere reserve is Panchmarhi Biosphere Reserve, while the wildlife one of the wildlife sanctuary found within this is Panchmarhi Biosphere Reserve, Panchmarhi Wildlife Sanctuary. Hope that is clear and you're getting this. So far, I hope you have understood this so far. Okay.
Yes.
Now talking about the Pachmani Biosphere Reserve, it is in the state of Madhya Pradesh, right? And this is a conservation area, and that was created in the year about almost I think 40 years ago. It was created by the government of India. Okay, now talking about special things about this Pachmani Biosphere Reserve is that there are some endemic species like this. Talking about the kind of flora and fauna found in this region is special. It is special. Okay. So there are different kind of vegetation, different kind of animals which will be found in this. Like it is home to various species of mammals. Like there will be different kind of tigers, leopards, Indian giant squirrels will be found in this. Wild boar or barking deer will be found in this region. Hmm. So this is a kind of a paradise for the peoples who are very fond of visiting a biosphere reservoir or naturally conserved places, because it is a home to about 300 species of birds. When I say that, it contains about 300 different species of birds. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
And it is also home to various species of reptiles, various species of amphibians also. Okay, various amphibians will be found in this, various kind of insects will also be found in, like so many butterflies, so many beetles, different kind of moths will be found in this. Okay, so this biosphere reserve, this Pachmani Biosphere Reserve, it's a very popular tourist destination in India, which is known for its beautiful forest, uh, and having a very beautiful view, scenic view. Getting it? That is one thing. Now in the following paragraph, there are some species which should be particularly found in this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, right? Like you see, there are some flora and fauna, like Sal forest of Panchmari Biosphere Reserve is famous. Uh, this bison, you understand now what is a bison? Bison that will be found in this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. This is the plant of a wild mango. This is a wild mango tree. Hmm. This is a giant squirrel. Getting it? This is a flying squirrel. That is a flying squirrel. That is a giant squirrel, red giant squirrel. So all these species of organisms will be particularly found in this Pachmari Biosphere Reserve. Okay, and they are called as endemic species. We'll be learning about the endemic species in a moment. Okay, now we'll be learning about this in a moment. That what endemic species are. Okay. So these are some of the organisms that will be flora and fauna that will be specifically found in this. Okay, now apart from this, there will be it contains about 300 species of birds. How much? 300 species of birds are found in this. Talking about its importance, read the given paragraph.
Importance of biosphere reserves. The importance of biosphere reserves is mentioned below. Conservation. Biosphere reserves conserve the species, ecosystem, genetic div- diversities,
Diversity.
diversities, and landscapes without affecting the inhabitants' development. It ensures sustainability, sustainable developments, including economic, cultural, social, and economic developments. Res-
Okay,
Restoration. The biosphere reserves restore any damage caused to the ecosystems and habitats.
good. Okay. So moments ago, as we were learning about the Pashmini Biosphere Reserve, there we did learn about some organisms particularly found in this. Okay, now apart from these, I have taken some of the images. Apart from these, there are some other organisms also that will be endemic to this region. While as I'm using this term endemic, let me just give you a small idea, brief idea about this. See, endemic species are those species of plants and animals now that will be exclusively found in a particular area only. That will be exclusively found in a particular area. Like if you were to visit Madhya Pradesh, okay. So this Pachmani Biosphere Reserve is in Madhya Pradesh. Apart from Pachmani Biosphere Reserve, there will be forest in other parts of the Madhya Pradesh also, right? Pachmani Biosphere Reserve will consist of forest, but there will be some other areas of other regions in Madhya Pradesh also that will have forest. But the thing is now that this flying squirrel will only be found in the Pachmari Biosphere Reserve and not in any other forest of that Madhya Pradesh. Okay, getting it? So it is exclusively found in that region only, or this reason is found only in that specific Pachmari Biosphere Reserve only. So endemic species are those species of plants and animals that are exclusively found in a given piece of area only and not in other part of area, not in other part of the state or not in that country or like that. So they could be limited to a specific area in a state. They could be specifically limited to a country also. Like you tell me, like the snow leopard. The snow leopard are, for example, polar bear. So it is not a endemic species to India. It is not an endemic species to India now because it is not found in India. Hmm? Think about this. Like, do tell me, like, in which countries polar bears are found? Like, polar bear can be found. Like in Russia, it can be found. Huh? In Russia,
Yes,
polar bears can be found. It can be found in the Norway. It can be found in the Alaska. In that part of the world, it can be found. So it will be said to endemic to Russia, to Canada, to Alaska only, not to India, right? Okay. So we either talk about endemic species in terms of states, in terms of countries also, in terms of continents also. So basic thing about the endemic species is that these are the flora and fauna that will be particularly found, that might either be found in an exclusive area, like in a state only, like in a district only. Hmm? Like it's like that. Or to give you a better clarity in try to understand in this manner, say that this is Madhya Pradesh. It will have several forests in this. Like this is a forest in this Madhya Pradesh, this is also a forest, this is also a forest. But say that this is a Pachmari Biosphere Reserve. So bison is found only in this. Bison is found only in the Panchmani Biosphere Reserve, but not in any other forest. Not in this one, not in this one. So this is endemic to Panchmani Biosphere Reserve only. But let us say we have other state like Uttar Pradesh. Okay, Uttar Pradesh. So Uttar Pradesh will also have bison. This bison is there in the Uttar Pradesh also. If you happen to visit the zoological park of the Delhi, there also you will find that bison is found there. Okay, na? Bison will be found in Delhi also, right? But in Delhi, it will also be limited to certain areas only. It will not be found in all the forest of Delhi. Getting it? It will be only found in one particular forest. So that is what the concept of endemic species is. It will be limited to a certain part of a given area only, not found in all the part of or all the forest of that land. That is what the thing is. In terms of country, also I give you example. Like in India, polar bear will be not be found, but in Alaska or Canada or Russia, there it will be found. So it is endemic to that country, but not to India. This is the concept clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Good then. Now, in exam, many times the endemic species of flora and fauna of the Pachmani Biosphere Reserve is asked. So make sure that you memorize that. Okay, now so endemic species, particularly of flora and fauna in Panchmarhi Biosphere Reserve. Can you quote, give some examples? The examples which we have discussed so far. Although there are some other examples also which I'm going to give. Yes, Aisha. Remember
Uh,
about the salt tree? Okay, continue.
or what should I give the examples?
You have to give the example of endemic species of Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. Like as we have discussed over here, these were limited only to this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve of Madhya Pradesh. Salt tree was there and wild mango.
Bison,
Yeah, bison is there. Good.
flying squirrel,
Flying squirrel. Good. And flying squirrel was there. Oh, there are several other organisms also.
red giant squirrel,
Yes. Red giant squirrel. Very good. Yes. Wild mango tree. Okay. Wild mango tree was there. This much as we have discussed so far. Okay. Na? All this as you have mentioned. Okay. Na? By the way, this is a red giant squirrel actually. Actually, let me just correct this. This is Indian giant squirrel. Okay. Na?
okay,
Indian
sir.
giant squirrel. Okay. Apart from these, there are several other endemic species of Pachmari Biosphere Reserve. Okay. Like we have the example of barking deer. Barking deer is also one such example. We have the example of organism called as chinkara by the name of chinkara. That is also a species of deer. Okay, now that is also there. So hope you are getting it. These are some of the endemic flora and fauna. Okay. By the way, there's one more by the name of cheetal. I think cheetal. I think. Okay. So these are endemic to that region. Leopards are also there. I think. Yeah, leopards are also there. So these are the endemic species of Panchmani biosphere. So, okay. Then we did learn about the importance of biosphere reserve. Okay. So in the biosphere reserve, what are the things we learned? We learned about what is a biosphere reserve. We learned the structure of a biosphere reserve, where we learned about the core zone, buffer zone, and the transition zone. Then we learned that there are about 18 biosphere reserves in India, like Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, Pachmari Biosphere Reserve, like that. Then we in the Pachmari Biosphere Reserve, we learned that there are some endemic species that will be found in that region only. Okay, getting it. Now there is one more special thing about this Pachmari Biosphere Reserve. Okay, no. See, the thing is the kind of organisms, the kind of flora and fauna that is found in the Pachmani Biosphere Reserves now, it is similar to that of the biodiversity found in the lower parts of the Himalayas and in the Western Ghat. What I'm saying, are you getting it? I'm saying that the type of biodiversity found in Panchpati Biosphere Reserve is similar to that of biodiversity found in the lower foothills of the Himalayas. That of to that of lower foot to that of foothills of the Himalayas. Getting it? So a very important feature of this is now an important feature of Panchmari biosphere reserve. Let me just take one image of the India in this map. Okay, see what I'm trying to say now, that the type of biodiversity that is found in the Pachmari biosphere reserve. Like there are different organisms, like barking deer was there, Indian giant squirrel was there, huh? Bison is there, salt tree is there, wild mango tree is there. Getting it? We have examples of red-eyed frog is there. huh? Different kind of flora and fauna is there that makes up the biodiversity of that Pachmari biosphere reserve. So the special thing about this is that the kind of this biodiversity found in the Pachmari biosphere reserve in this part, it is over here. No, this is where the Pachmari biosphere reserve would be located. So this will be similar to that of the biodiversity found in the upper part of the Himalayan peaks. This is where the Himalayan peak is, right, Aisha? That is
Yeah.
the Himalayan peak all the way up to here. So the type of biodiversity found in the upper Himalayan peak and the type of biodiversity found in the Western Ghats. This is your Western Ghat. Have you studied about Western Ghat or Eastern Ghat in geography?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the thing is that it will be similar to that of this. So the type of biodiversity will be similar to the type of diversity found in the upper Himalayan peaks and that in the Western Ghat. So this is also one of the unique feature of this. Okay, now
Okay, sir.
just let me write this down over here. Okay, so the biodiversity in this reserve is similar to that found in upper Himalayan peaks and the Western Ghat. Any confusion so far?
No, sir.
Good then. So moments ago, as you were reading about the importance of biosphere reserve, so there you read that there are several importance of biosphere reserve. So we learned that biosphere reserves are meant for the purpose of conservation, as it conserves the different species, conserves the ecosystem, conserves the genetic diversity of that region, and also conserves the landscape without impacting it, without affecting the inhabitants of that area, um, without impacting the organism living in that region. It also ensures development. What kind of development? A sustainable development, where the where we get to see that the development will be done in such a manner that the present requirement of that region is met, keeping in mind that the future requirement is not disturbed. So that is the concept of sustainable development. So biosphere reserves ensures a sustainable development. Sustainable development, basically in environmental studies, you would have learned about this, that having an approach towards development in such a way that the needs of the present generation is met without putting in danger the need of the future generation. So that is true in the case of flora and fauna also. The requirement of the present organisms, present plants is met without hampering the future of the flora and fauna. And it is taken into like the development of the tribal people living in that region, that is also being considered here. Okay, now, so their development is also taken into consideration, whether it be their economic, cultural, social, or economic development. Okay. Furthermore, biosphere reserve, if a ecosystem of a given region has been damaged, so the biosphere reserve will also help in restoring the damage. It will restore the damage caused to that ecosystem or to the habitat of that area. Furthermore, it also serves as a place for education and research where the scientists can go, they can visit, a scientist or children can visit there and learn about the nature, learn about the way organisms interact with each other, the way how an ecosystem functions, and the and how the organisms are important for us. Mm. It also helps in land use planning. Like all the landowners, public institutions, farmers, scientists, industry, and conservation groups found in these areas, all of them can work together to look towards a comprehensive land management. What I mean to say, that in the Pachmani Biosphere Reserve, around that Pachmani Biosphere Reserve, there would be so many peoples that would be living around that region outside the transition zone, right, Aisha?
So,
There would be farmers also. There would be several industrialists, several scientists working in that region. So, if all of them were to come together and develop a scientific approach towards conserving the nature, okay, na? So, if all of them were to work together, so thereby the land management can be done in a very comprehensive manner. It also healthifies the ecosystem. It helps in maintaining a healthy ecosystem by preventing the soil erosion. Getting it now? As deforestation will not be allowed, so soil erosion will be reduced. Water springs, if there are some water springs, that will be maintained, that will be reduced right now. So that is the thing. So there we have learned about importance of this. After having learned about that, we are now going to learn about the wildlife sanctuary. Okay, please read the given paragraph.
a wildlife sanctuary is a natural occurring sanctuary such as as an island that provides protection for species from hunting, predation, competition, or poaching.
Okay, it's not Iceland, it's island. Okay, na? S is silent. Okay, it's pronounced as island. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So wildlife sanctuaries are kind of reserved forest where the particularly wild animals would be protected, where the wild animals are protected and they are provided with suitable living conditions. They are provided with suitable living conditions. Right now, like unlike a zoo, zoological garden where the animals would be kept in cages. Right now, they would be kept in cages in closed containers, closed enclosures. They will be kept. But in a wildlife sanctuary, the animals would be allowed to move freely. They would be allowed to move and live freely in their natural habitat. So they can roam anywhere as they wish. So it's a naturally occurring place. It's kind of an island that will be providing protection to different species, protection from being hunted down, protection from being eaten by other organisms. Meaning that protection, like if their population is in threat, so thereby good care of those organisms will be taken. Right now, a competition or poaching, all of them will be prohibited in the wildlife sanctuary. Got this one? So that is
Sir,
what yes.
I- what is meant by poaching?
Okay, poaching is basically illegal killing of animals. Okay, now for their skin, for their bones, for their claws, okay, now for their organs. So that is what poaching is. Okay, now so
Okay, sir.
poaching of animals in the wildlife sanctuary will be prohibited. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
that is what the thing is. Okay, so it will not be allowed. So it's an illegal activity, right? Capturing of animals will also be strictly prohibited. Right. So all of this has been established in order to protect the endangered species. So wildlife sanctuary will be like a particularly meant for conserving the endangered species of organisms. Those organisms whose populations have decreased due to the human activities. Okay, now, so they will be particularly taken care of in a wildlife sanctuary. But that doesn't mean that other organisms will not be allowed to live here. Others will also be allowed. Okay. Now, in the following image, I have taken a collection of different organisms in this, where all these organisms are endangered organisms. Okay, now these organisms are endangered organisms. You can read the given paragraph.
Tourism is not permitted in a wildlife sanctuary. People are not allowed uniscort uns-
Unescorted.
unscorted there. The main objective of establishing a wildlife sanctuary is to educate humans as to
Educate.
educate educate humans as as to how to treat the animals. The animals are taken care of and allowed to live peacefully in their natural habitats.
You know. So, talking about the wildlife sanctuary, so far, what are the things we have learned? Hmm? We have learned it's a special place designated for the conservation of wild animals, right? So, it's a place where animals, their habitats, and their surrounding would be shielded from any kind of interference, any kind of human interference, right? Or like what kind of interference a human will be having in to the wild animals, to the life of wild animals. The only interference that humans will have, either they will be killing them, poaching will be done, right now. So the goal of wildlife sanctuary is to provide the animals with a comfortable life, make sure that all the necessary things for them are available right now, so that they like for the population of the different organisms to increase, for particularly the endangered organism, they require medical treatment, they require sufficient amount of nutrition, food is required, they require a safe habitat, they require water sources, like they require water bodies where they can drink water, they require medical treatment, the competition between the organism has to be reduced, getting it. So
Yes,
that
sir.
is the purpose of wildlife sanctuary. Okay, and in in India also we have got so many wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, now there are about 573 wildlife sanctuaries only in India. Talking about India, there are about 573 wildlife sanctuaries in India. Okay, now, and that kind of occupies about 3.5% of the land area of India. Out of the 100%, about 3.5% of the area of land is especially designated to the wildlife sanctuary. Okay. Talking about the importance of wildlife sanctuary, this is something which we have been learning for a few minutes, right? So the importance of wildlife sanctuaries is to prevent the removal of organisms from their natural surrounding and protect them in their own environment, in their natural habitat. And here in the wildlife sanctuaries, specifically, a keen eye is kept on the endangered species. Right now, right now, like if they are unhealthy, they are not getting sufficient nutrition, so their population might further decrease. So a keen eye is kept on the endangered species, because how do we conserve, how do we protect the endangered species? Simply by increasing their population, increasing their numbers. Now got this now, Aisha.
Yes,
So
sir.
thereby there would be human intervention in the reproduction of the organisms, or reproduction of the endangered organisms also, right now. So that will be helping them to reproduce and increase their numbers. In this manner they will be protected, their numbers will be stopped from declining, right? Also, apart from providing a safe haven, providing a safe habitat to the wild animals, it also provides with opportunities for research purpose and for research and education purpose, where the scientists can go there and they can study the animals and they can study the plants in that region too. So that is how this is important. And as we know that in India there are about how many? 573 wildlife sanctuaries are there. Out of them, I have selected few wildlife sanctuaries that are important to know, because these are the sanctuaries usually in the news. Okay, like the Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary that is in Rajasthan, or Chilika Lake Bird Sanctuary that is in Odisha, Chinar Wildlife Sanctuary in Kerala, or Gir National Park in Gujarat. Okay. By the way, apart from wildlife sanctuary, there's a national park in Gujarat also. Both of them have been mentioned at the same time. Or in Uttarakhand, you have the Govind Wildlife Sanctuary, or in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala, like this. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now. So at least try to memorize few of them. Okay. 4 or 5 of them, if you get to memorize it, that will be good. Okay. So hope the different things which we have learned about it, it is clear to you. Already. By the way, which state you belong to? In India, which state you belong to?
Telangana.
Telangana. Okay, okay. Do you know of some wildlife sanctuary from Telangana?
Yeah, zoological park.
Zoological park is there. Okay, okay. So I'm asking about the wildlife sanctuary. Like if there are some wildlife sanctuaries there, have you visited any national parks or like that, or wildlife sanctuary?
No, sir.
No. Okay, okay. Anyways, okay. Do one thing after the class. Do some research about this. Like if there are any wildlife sanctuaries in Telangana. Okay, now there are actually few of them. Okay, now there are some of them. Like I think there's one by the name of, at least I think, Manjira Wildlife Sanctuary is there. Okay, now kindly confirm that after the class. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay. So we have learned about wildlife sanctuary. We have learned about biosphere reserve and wildlife sanctuary so far. Now let's differentiate between the two, like how they are different. Different. Okay, now. So we are now going to learn about difference between biosphere reserve and wildlife sanctuary. Okay. Now, in terms of area, first of all, you tell me which one of them is bigger. In terms of area, which one of them is bigger, a biosphere reserve or a wildlife sanctuary? Yes, Aisha. In the beginning, while we started learning about conservation, these areas, these spatial areas, I
Uh,
did
bio
told you,
biosphere reserve.
biosphere reserve is larger as compared to the wildlife sanctuary, right? Okay. Now, the very first difference is that in the case of wildlife sanctuary, we learned that in this case now, it is an area where different animals would be protected from poaching, from hunting, right? Apart from protecting the animals, their habitat is also conserved in the wildlife sanctuary. While when we talk about biosphere reserve, it not only talks about conservation of wild animals but also talks about conservation of plants also, right? So biosphere reserve have a bigger approach, have a bigger goal. So it's a large area, large protected area that is constructed for conservation of the biodiversity of that region. So biodiversity will encompass all the things. It will contain comprise of the different flora, different fauna, and it will contain it will talk about the tribal people also that will be living in that region. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Next, read the next difference between the two.
It provides protection and suitable living conditions to wild animals. It helps in the conservation of various life forms such as plants, animals, and microorganisms.
Very good. You know. Hmm. So that is another difference, that it provides protection and suitable living condition to wild animals. That is the main approach of wildlife sanctuary. But biosphere reserve, it is meant for conservation of all the forms of life, whether it be plant, animals, microorganisms, right? That is one thing. Okay. Now do tell me, in a wildlife sanctuary, will the tribal peoples be allowed to live? Tribal peoples, will they be allowed to live in the wildlife sanctuary? Hmm. Think of
No.
this. Hmm. So tribal peoples are not allowed to live in the wildlife sanctuary. But what about this biosphere reserve?
Yes, they can live.
Yeah, that they can live right now. Okay. Although in most part of the India, in most of the wildlife sanctuary, tribal people will not be allowed to live right now. But in certain, there will be few exceptions in this case. Okay, now there will be few exceptions where people will be allowed to continue live in the wildlife sanctuary, right? Like we have some such examples right now. In fact, the examples are so interesting. Like there are some wildlife sanctuaries where the local tribal people have been allowed to live alongside the tigers found in that wildlife sanctuary. Getting it? Okay,
Yes, sir.
that is one thing. So the one more difference I'm going to add over here, like the kind of economic activities that will be allowed in the two places. Huh? So talking about the wildlife sanctuary, people would be allowed to graze their livestock in that region. They can collect the firewood or they can collect the medicinal plants from this. Okay, now
Okay,
so
sir.
they can do so. But in the case of biosphere reserve, as we have learned that certain kind of activities will be allowed in a specific zone also. What do we call that zone as? People can collect firewood, medicinal plants, and grazing will be allowed. Grazing for the animals will be allowed. While in the biosphere reserve, first of all, do tell me the names of different zones of biosphere reserve.
Core buffer transition.
Transition. So, in which zone the people will be allowed to collect firewood or collect medicinal plants, or kind of they can build their homes, do some economic activities? Yes, in the transition zone, that is the outermost zone.
Okay.
Getting it? So, another difference we can list down is that people in a wildlife sanctuary, the area from where they can collect all this is not kind of designated or has been specifically mentioned. But in the biosphere reserve, activities are limited to different areas. Like in the core and buffer zone, people can't do such activities. But in the transition zone, it will be allowed. In transition zone, such activities will be allowed. Okay. Then the last one is we have basically example of wildlife sanctuary in a biosphere reserve. Okay. Now, later on, we would be learning about the difference between zoo and wildlife sanctuary also. Okay, na? But first of all, we need to understand about what is a zoo or what is a zoological garden basically. Okay, na? So first of all, let us get to know about that concept and then we'll be dealing with the next thing. Zoological park or zoological garden, or called as park, and in short, this is basically called as zoo. Okay, no? No. Talking about zoological park. First of all, I will like to know from you. Like, you tell me, what do you understand by zoological parks? Yes,
It's a place where animals are kept for exhibition.
it's a place where animals are kept for reservation. Okay, basically,
Exhibition.
okay. See. Talking about zoological park basically. Okay, so zoological parks should be now particularly kind of a place where the animals would be kept enclosed cages for public display. Right now, so it's kind of a public recreational activity. It's a kind of a public recreational activity. Getting it? So that is what a zoological park. That is what the purpose of the zoological park is. Okay, now. So where the certain animals would be kept, right? In short, park is also called a zoo or sometimes also called as animal park. So it's kind of a facility or kind of a place where animals are kept in enclosures. Although they will be taken care of also, but they are usually that is not the case in every parks right now. Usually they are not fed properly. They are not medical attention is not given, so thereby they are not in a proper condition. So see, although this is not a place especially meant for the aim of conservation, keep this thing in mind. Zoological park is not a place that is just specifically meant for conservation purpose. Okay, now, so it's kind of a place that is built for recreational activities. You understand now what is recreational activity?
No,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. See, basically, different kind of activities which we do for the purpose of enjoyment, like either it could be fishing, either it could be playing some sports, or either it could be simply walking with a friend, with having playing some football, meditation, or doing reading, visiting to some museum, visiting to a national park or zoological garden, or river boating. It could be kind of picnicking. So all these activities, either it could be some physical activity or some mental activity. huh? So that is what a recreational activity is. Okay, no? So the activity that we basically do to relax ourselves for the purpose of pleasure, for relaxing ourselves, for purpose of exercise. So that is what recreational activity. So one of the aim of a zoological garden is for recreational activity. Okay, now, so it is a place where animals are kept in close enclosures. So close enclosures, I am referring to the cages. Okay, now, so enclosed enclosures for the purpose of public recreational activity. Although we see that they are taken care of, they are fed properly, but that usually is not the case in every place right now. So they are fed and taken care of. They are fed and taken care of. Furthermore, another aim of a zoological garden is to educate people also. They can be used for the purpose of studying also, right? So another thing is that they can be also used for the purpose of education. Education where people will go there, they will learn about them, and in some cases serves as a place for reproduction of endangered animals also. Reproduction of endangered species. Okay, no. So sometimes it will be acting as a place for reproduction of certain endangered species also. Right now, so that is something which we have learned. Okay, no. So another there's a one disadvantage of this. See, the park here the animals are kept away from their natural habitat. So thereby their growth is not proper. They because animals they grow well in their natural habitat only, right now. So if you limit the area of the animal, like it cannot roam around openly in the forest, huh? You have kept it in close enclosures, so thereby its growth will be distorted. Okay, no?